"She is ugly and will never marry," Agnes Fairchild said with sharp pleasure, her voice cold and firm as stone. The words filled the great hallway and struck harder than any slap. Helena Fairchild knelt on the cold marble floor with a scrub brush in her hand. Soap stung her fingers as she worked, and the pale blue ribbon in her dark hair slipped loose with each movement. Morning light poured through the tall windows, bright and unforgiving, revealing every mark on the floor and every tear she tried not to shed. No warmth came with that light, only silence and shame. "Be sure the floors shine before His Grace arrives," Agnes went on, adjusting her lace cap and admiring the heavy rings on her fingers. "Though I doubt the Duke of Strathmore would ever notice a creature like you, you will remain in the servants' quarters while he is here." Helena kept her eyes down. She had learned long ago that silence was safer than words. Her gray dress was worn thin at the knees, carefully patched many times. It was the only dress she owned fit for daily work. Her hands shook, but she scrubbed on. Sebastian Blackwood, Duke of Strathmore, was the most desired man in society. A widower with a quiet past that drew whispers wherever he went. Wealth, land, and power followed his name, yet he stood apart from the noisy hopes of ambitious families. Every lady wanted him, every mother planned for him. "Prudence will wear her new rose silk gown," Agnes continued, speaking as if Helena were not there. "The color suits her face. Unlike some who were cursed at birth with features no gown could save." The brush slipped from Helena's hand and hit the bucket with a loud splash. She caught it quickly, but a tear slid down her cheek. She wiped it away with her sleeve and bent lower to her task. "When His Grace arrives, you will stay in the kitchen," Agnes said sharply. "He must not see you. I will not have our family judged for your unfortunate looks. Your poor mother, at least, married before her beauty faded. You inherited neither her face nor her fortune." With that, Agnes turned and left, her skirts whispering across the floor. The door closed. Helena was alone again. She worked in quiet rhythm, her body moving by habit while her mind drifted. She dreamed of being seen, of being spoken to kindly, of mattering, even just a little, in a world that seemed to have no place for her. Late afternoon came, and with it the sound of carriage wheels in the courtyard. Helena gathered her supplies to leave as ordered. In her hurry she struck the bucket. Soapy water spilled across the floor she had just polished. "Oh, no," she whispered, dropping to her knees to stop the spread. The front door opened. The butler stepped inside, then stopped short. Behind him stood a tall man, whose presence filled the space without effort. Dark hair touched with silver framed his face. His posture was calm, controlled. His eyes, green with gold flecks, fell on Helena where she knelt on the floor. "My apologies, Your Grace," the butler said in panic. Sebastian Blackwood stepped forward. "It appears a young lady is in trouble," he said, his voice deep and steady. He extended his hand toward Helena. "Please, allow me." She stared at his glove as if it were not real. No man had ever offered her such courtesy. Her aunt's voice sounded from another room, sharp with concern. "I am nobody, Your Grace," Helena said softly. "Just a relation of Mrs. Fairchild. I clean." "Nobody," Sebastian repeated, and there was something thoughtful in his tone. "I doubt that very much." Agnes appeared then, her smile forced and tight. "Your Grace, how kind of you to notice my unfortunate niece." "Helena, leave at once." Sebastian looked from aunt to niece. He saw how Helena shrank, how her fingers twisted the ribbon in her hair. A quiet understanding crossed his face. The next morning, Helena found peace among the parish garden roses. She knelt in the soil, tying broken stems, coaxing life back into flowers left damaged by a recent storm. Here, she was useful. Here, no one judged her. "You have gentle hands, Miss Fairchild." She turned sharply. Sebastian stood nearby, dressed for riding. The morning light softened his features. "Your Grace," she said, trying to curtsy in her simple dress. "Please," he said kindly. "I often walk here. I enjoy the quiet." She returned to the roses. I tend what others forget. With care, damaged things can grow again, she added. A truth beyond gardening, he said, stepping closer. Tell me, why does your aunt treat you so harshly? Helena hesitated, then spoke. I am an orphan. I depend on her. I am a burden. And an embarrassment. Your appearance? He asked gently. She shook her head. She says I am ugly and will never marry. I have nothing to offer. Sebastian was silent, then spoke with quiet force. You offer more than many who boast beauty and wealth. You have kindness, strength, grace. She looked away. You are too kind, Your Grace. If your aunt learns of this talk, so be it, he said. Do you help elsewhere? I read to children at the orphanage, she admitted, twice a week. A smile touched his face. May I join you next time? She looked up, surprised. If you wish. Tomorrow morning, he said. Here. That evening, Helena felt hope stir for the first time in years. But behind the garden wall a maid watched, already eager to report what she had seen. The next day at the orphanage, children gathered close as Helena read aloud. Sebastian sat beside her, listening. The children stared at his fine coat, wide-eyed. Is he your prince? The small boy asked. I am only a duke, Sebastian said with a smile. But Miss Helena has the heart of a princess. She doesn't look like one, a girl said. True royalty is shown by actions, Sebastian replied. And hers shine brightly. Weeks passed. Meetings continued. Quiet kindness grew into something deeper. Then, one morning, Sebastian spoke with concern. Your aunt spreads cruel rumors. She says you chase my attention. Helena froze. You must stay away, Your Grace. I will not, he said firmly. I saw how you are treated. You deserve better. He held her hands and placed blue ribbons in her palm. Someone sees you. He spoke of a ball to be held soon. He said she would attend. He promised protection. That night, Helena hid a blue silk gown beneath her bed. Above her, Agnes spoke with anger, planning to shame her. Helena held the ribbon close. Tomorrow would change everything. The night of Lady Harrington's ball arrived with a cold wind that rattled the windows of the Fairchild house. Helena stood alone in her narrow room, staring at the blue silk gown laid carefully across her bed. Her hands trembled as she touched the smooth fabric. It looked like it belonged to another woman, someone braver, someone worthy of being seen. Downstairs, Agnes's voice rang out, sharp with excitement as she gave orders. Prudence laughed, her happiness loud and careless. No one had spoken to Helena since morning. That silence pressed on her chest more heavily than insults ever had. She dressed slowly, afraid that if she hurried, the moment would vanish like a dream. When she tied the blue ribbon into her hair, her reflection stared back at her with unfamiliar calm. She still saw the same face, plain and quiet, but something in her eyes had changed. Hope lived there now, fragile, but real. She slipped out through the servants' door as instructed, her heart pounding with each step toward the waiting carriage. When she arrived at Harrington House, the building glowed with light. Music floated into the night air, rich and full. Inside, the ballroom shimmered. Candles reflected off crystal and gold, and the sound of laughter and whispered gossip filled every corner. Helena paused at the entrance, suddenly aware of every breath she took. Agnes appeared at her side at once, her smile tight with anger. You have some nerve, she hissed, stealing finery and forcing your way in. Leave before you disgrace us further. Lady Harrington invited me, Helena said quietly. Agnes sneered. They are laughing already. The ugly orphan who dares dream. Helena felt the weight of staring eyes. Fans lifted, lips curved in cruel amusement. Her courage wavered. Then a voice cut through the noise. Miss Fairchild, quote, Sebastian stood before her, dressed in deep blue, his presence commanding immediate attention. The room seemed too still as eyes turned toward them. May I have this dance? He asked, offering his hand. Agnes gasped. Your Grace, surely you mean Prudence. I am quite certain, Sebastian said coolly. Helena placed her hand in his. As they stepped onto the floor, whispers followed like a storm. The music began, and Sebastian drew her close. "Look at me," he murmured. "Nothing else matters." They moved together, steady and sure. Helena forgot the crowd, forgot the fear. She felt safe in his arms. When the dance ended, Sebastian did not release her hand. The music faded. The room fell silent. He turned to face the crowd. "I have something to say," he announced. Agnes's face drained of color. Prudence swayed. "For weeks I have watched how society judges worth," Sebastian continued. "How kindness is mocked and vanity praised. Tonight I speak plainly." Murmurs spread. "You call this woman ugly," he said firmly, "unmarriageable, worthless. And you are wrong." Helena tried to pull back, but he held her hand gently. "She restores what others abandon. She gives love without seeking reward. She endures cruelty with dignity." Sebastian dropped to one knee before her. "Helena Fairchild," he said clearly, "will you marry me?" The room froze. Tears streamed down Helena's face. "I have nothing," she whispered. "You have everything," he replied. "Yes," she said, her voice breaking. "Yes." Gasps filled the air. Then applause rose, slow at first, then strong. Agnes stood frozen, her defeat clear. Sebastian tied the blue ribbon around Helena's wrist and kissed her without shame. That night, the world shifted. But peace did not come easily. In the days that followed, gossip spread fast and cruel. Some praised the romance, others mocked it. Agnes sent letters full of bitterness, claiming betrayal. Helena struggled with doubt. She woke often in fear, expecting to be sent back to the cold floors and sharp words. Sebastian noticed. One evening, he took her hands. "You do not need to earn your place," he told her. "You already belong." Slowly, Helena began to believe him. Preparations for the wedding began, and with them came challenges. Agnes demanded money, favor, forgiveness. Sebastian refused. "I will not reward cruelty," he said. Helena asked to see her aunt one last time. Agnes arrived stiff and proud, eyes roaming the grand room with envy. "I remember everything," Helena said calmly, "but I forgive you, not for you, but for me." Agnes left without a word. Winter arrived. Snow fell over the Duke's estate, soft and clean. Helena stood by the window one morning, touching her ribbon. Sebastian joined her, his arms warm around her. "You are still surprised," he said gently. "I am," she admitted, "but I am learning." "You were never invisible," he said. "I was simply the first to truly look." As the fire crackled and snow fell, Helena felt peace settle in her heart. The world had tried to break her. Instead, she had been chosen. And love, she learned, could change everything. 6 months passed after the night that changed Helena Fairchild's life forever. Winter wrapped the countryside in quiet white, and Strathmore House stood calm beneath falling snow. Helena stood near the tall windows, watching flakes drift slowly to the ground. Her hand rested on the familiar blue ribbon still woven into her hair, now joined by jewels she never would have imagined owning. Even surrounded by warmth and beauty, part of her still feared waking to the cold marble floors of her aunt's house. Sebastian came up behind her and wrapped his arms around her waist. His presence was steady and sure, grounding her thoughts before they could wander too far. "You are thinking again," he said softly. Helena smiled faintly. "Sometimes I still cannot believe this is my life. I was nothing not long ago. Now I am here." Sebastian turned her gently to face him. "You were never nothing. The world simply refused to see you. That has changed." Quote. She searched his face, still amazed that someone like him had chosen her without doubt or shame. "When did you know?" she asked quietly. "When did you know you loved me?" He smiled, not with pride, but with tenderness. "The morning you spoke of broken roses. You believed damaged things could bloom again with care. In that moment, I saw my own heart in your words. You healed me long before you knew it." Helena's eyes filled with tears, but she did not look away. For once, she allowed herself to accept his love without fear. Their marriage brought change not only to their lives, but to the house itself. Laughter replaced silence. Kindness replaced tension. Servants spoke Helena's name with warmth, not pity. She treated every person with the same gentle respect she once longed for herself. Yet one shadow remained. One afternoon, Helena's maid entered quietly. "Your Grace," she said carefully, "Mrs. Agnes Fairchild has arrived. She insists on seeing you." Helena stiffened. Old fear rose in her chest, but Sebastian's hand rested firmly on her shoulder. "She does not belong in your life anymore," he said. "I know," Helena replied, "but I wish to face her. Not as the girl I was, but as the woman I am now." Agnes entered moments later, her eyes sharp as ever, though uncertainty flickered beneath her proud posture. She looked around the grand room, her envy barely hidden. "Helena," she began stiffly, "it seems fortune has smiled upon you." Helena met her gaze calmly. "Fortune did not change me. It only revealed me." Agnes frowned. "You should remember who gave you shelter when no one else would." "I remember everything," Helena said evenly. "The shelter and the cruelty. I forgive you, but I will no longer allow you power over my heart." Agnes opened her mouth to argue, but Sebastian stepped forward, his voice cold and final. "This house is a place of respect. You are no longer welcome here." Agnes left without another word, her pride wounded beyond repair. When the door closed, Helena released a breath she felt she had been holding for years. Sebastian drew her into his arms. "You were brave," he said. "No," she replied softly. "I was free." Spring came slowly. Flowers returned to the gardens Helena loved so dearly. She walked among them often, tending roses that reminded her of who she once was. She made sure no flower was left forgotten. She continued visiting the orphanage, now welcomed with smiles and joy. Sebastian joined her often, reading stories with dramatic voices that made the children laugh. They listened to Helena with the same wonder they always had, but now their eyes shone with pride too. One small girl asked her one day, "Are you really a duchess?" Helena smiled and knelt beside her. "Yes, but I am also just Helena." "Can I be like you?" the girl asked. "You already are," Helena replied gently. "All you need is to believe you matter." Those words became Helena's quiet mission. She used her position to support schools, gardens, and orphaned children. She never forgot what it felt like to be unseen. Society slowly changed its tone. Those who once mocked her now praised her grace. Others felt ashamed, though few admitted it. Helena did not seek their approval. She had learned its value too late to care. One evening, as golden light filled the drawing room, Sebastian watched Helena read by the fire. The blue ribbon still rested in her hair, faded now but cherished. "You still wear it," he said. "It reminds me," she replied, touching it softly, "of who I was, and of the moment someone chose to see me." "I will always choose you," Sebastian said. Helena looked up, her smile full and sure. "And I will always believe I am worthy of that choice." Years later, when gray touched their hair and time left its marks, Sebastian would still look at her as if she were the greatest treasure he had ever found. And Helena would still believe, with quiet certainty, that love was not found by beauty or fortune, but by kindness and courage. She had once been called ugly. She had once been told she would never marry. Yet she became a duchess not because she was chosen by power, but because she had always carried a beautiful heart. And in the end, that was the only beauty that truly mattered.